Cool. I'll show the other. I couldn't show the first parts, you know. Rated. Yeah? No, the space. No nudity in the space.
Is that so? Okay, there's a sex scene before.
Yes.
This, so he
So
doesn't
I skipped it. You can see the trailer yourself. You know. Yeah.
A go tsela pele go mma go tsela tharo dintwa tša rena di mo go bineng le manaba a rena
batla ke ditlatse
ehlisa umoya kanti ngicanga ukuthi le competition ikhona ndawobani
re lebelele ge re bina maoto a rena a tliša letšhogo pelong tša bona
amanzi amancane shaya imoto sana
go botse ba gona wa kgatlhiša bothaka bja rona go bonagala difahlegong gore go fetša go e ba lesite
sengisho ukuthi mina uthi yami ngajayiva ngize ngingene phakathi ezulwini
le boramamina ba iteka go bina go dipelong tša rena bjana ka lerato e fela mantisa o re nna weng hello
ke a o jone ke a gutla
Okay.
ke tla tlela ntho a itshasa ne
re na le lerato o sa leke wa re ahlola ba sa tlang go belego ba seke ba dula komana madulo a bapile umafikizolo akwachichinyeyo
uma ebethengize ngizohlala nawe
Mawa hawu ke
unkele
ngwana nkele wena.
yebo
Wena?
yebo
gare ga tlhakatlhakano ye ka moka go bina gore bja moreneng sebaka se re se hwetšang re lebala bosennete bja ditoro tša rena
o tatala nana
jovicho ye wena o tatala nana
Cool. I can't show all his films, there are too many. And they're all equally brilliant, and I've noticed there's a pattern to your films, and I mean, this could screen anywhere in the world and really be still as relevant anywhere and stuff. So, I mean, me and you talk a lot about distributing your films and getting them out there to the people, especially this crowd doesn't get to see many of the films as much. So, when is this one coming out? No, it's not out yet.
So this one, it's another interesting story. that we must all develop courage and believe in the stories that we do. Because the story, when I pitched, we shot the promo about 3 years ago. And believe it or not, some people felt like, you know, they gave you that vibe, that it's so-so, it might work, it might not work. But we believe that there's a space, there's a platform for something like this that hasn't been on our screen. And so we insisted. And the good news is, eventually and finally, the SABC has agreed. We start shooting 3rd of April. It should be on your screen, mid-May. But what is important about the story is that, again, we own the rights to the story. And it's something that amongst colleagues, amongst artists, we need to know and own our work, because we don't really have the pension fund or any other thing, and this is our brains, this is what we do. But it's not easy because the system doesn't allow you. The reason, again, it took us 3 years to negotiate it is because it's unusual to license a drama series to the broadcaster. They don't like it because it makes them lose power. Mnet didn't even want to listen to us. The minute we started saying we don't want a commission, we want a licensing, they just literally says, okay, goodbye. But it's a struggle that we face, that you'll come across if you haven't come across them. But the thing is happening. I'm glad from your reaction that you like the stuff. It's going to be better when we shoot it. Again, we spend about 150,000 of our own money shooting the promo. So when we talk about independent, it comes also at a price and a lot of hard work.
My brother, I'd just like to ask, man.
Mike.
Sure. Thanks, man. I'd just like to ask, man, like, how do you base your casting, man, for your films? Like, is it...
Yeah, I think it differs from project to project. For a project like this, which I've had in my head for a very long time, because I work with different artists, I literally look at a person's personality, and none of them did casting. I literally said, this role I want so-and-so, and I want so-and-so. Because of my experience of knowing them, I know they can pull off their role, and also their attitude as well. And I mean, we're only going to cast one character because there's other characters that are new characters, which I literally pick them on the street or pick them on other projects and so on. I cast as I walk.
How's it, Michi?
Sharp, sharp.
My question is based on a global communication. Let's say now you want to show a movie, and you're only showing a movie from a reparation point of view. How is the other guys speaking for themselves towards this movie based on irreparation?
So, you know, the thing about, well, the first reaction that I always find is people shocked that something like this happened. Because the reaction is that we didn't know it happened. But if I understand your question correctly, you were saying, how are the Germans going to react to it? Is that the question?
How are they supposed to give back, knowing that we've took something from these guys and we have to give it back? How is the movie affecting the guys to actually say, oh man, I did something wrong and I have to, you know?
True. It's a complicated question, and I don't know how they're going to solve it. But the Herrero Foundation has got about 10 points of how they can go about it. One of them is, it's simple. It's like, can we now give the land to the rightful owners? The second is, you have made money off the land that you took. And you have acknowledged, by the way, Germany is not refusing the fact that they killed people and took the land illegally. So that is not even in context. What's the word? In contention. So the thing is, you've made money. How much, if we calculate, have you made off this land? And can we get a certain percentage of that? Because you are rich today because of that. So let's say you steal my car, you sell my car, and you manage to start a business with that car. Now we found out you stole my car and you used my money to start your business. Can I at least have a share of that business? Can you give me 20% of that business? So there are lots of those points. And I say it's complicated simply because there were these kinds of genocide around the world, even in Asia, by the Germans. So the fear is that if they now start paying reparation to the Namibians, it means they are opening up a floodgates, and so they are skeptic.
Cool. Last question. Yeah.
Because you said that you made the film in order to drive conversation. So I feel that in the film industry, it's very exclusive just to filmmakers and people interested in the film industry. How do you break the barrier to entry by showcasing or like making people aware that there's such films and they can go out and find them and then drive the conversation in a general sense in society? Because I mean, it's not just filmmakers who can gain knowledge and advance the conversation from such films. So are there platforms that are available? Because also you should just said that you had problems with Mnet not wanting to broadcast your film. They wanted a lot of money, or they didn't want to listen to you. So how do you bridge the gap between the film industry and general society in order to drive the conversation further than just us in this room?
Well, I mean, you just said just us. That's actually this platform. And part of the reason I said this was a great platform is because you guys are influential people, or will grow to be influential people, or become influential people. You are artists. You've seen this. You have your own take. You might do another work. So the issue will be replicated. But also is that it's going to be on TV. I'm going to show it on SABC. We are negotiating. They want to buy it. It will be on set. I'm literally going to give it away to Namibian Broadcast Corporation. But on top of that, it's going to be shown in Namibia, across Namibia, through the events of Herero people and into their networks for free. So yes, the network it has to be broader beyond the filmmakers and the artists, but we should not undermine the role that artists play, because we are so important, because we influence public discourse. And whatever little things we do, we continue in the conversation. He might be a sculptor. He can sculpt a skull and talk about the story of Herero people. So in that way, the issue continue to live beyond just the films.
I think it's also important to acknowledge that this is the second time you're screening it to a different audience, right, in terms of showing the trailer. So slowly I had to convince him, we're going to do a screening here after the Namibia part and stuff, try and get us more screenings locally, because, I was in Zimbabwe, 2 weeks ago. There's another genocide there that I discovered. I'm Zimbabwean, but I never knew about this genocide, but it's housed in a museum that no one can document the genocide, the story inside that space and stuff. So I think also with the current xenophobia happening and stuff, and being a South African filmmaker, making a film about Namibians, I'm hoping that can kind of show that we are related somehow. We have the same kind of struggles and stuff, because it's quite saddening that some of us are even considering, okay, maybe we shouldn't stay in the country and stuff and go back home because, well, no one seems to love us here and stuff. So I think that's a very important dialogue to kind of start triggering, to see more South Africans telling other African stories for everyone else to see and stuff. And I think that's incredible.
Just to add to what you were saying, one of the panelists who sits in the Rapid Lion viewing panel, judging panel, works at VETS as a lecturer. And they have now asked if we can do a talk with the history department lectures and social science lectures, the department, on the film. So this is again a different platform where you're now going to talk to the academic world, and they do it under WISA. WISA is like a thinking tank unit of VETS. So again, it's about the influence that these people have beyond just the filmmakers. You know, who knows that they might want to put in their syllabus, in their history syllabus, a part or a part on the genocide in Namibia.
No. Cool. Okay. Last question there.
So you said that as a South African filmmaker, making a film about Namibia would forge a kind of like solidarity between the two of you, and maybe that would ease tensions. But how many Namibians did you work with on the production, and how do you feel about, I guess, filmmakers speaking over people actually directly involved in things? So, like, I mean, I'm obviously like black diasporic, but I would never make a film about African people because it's not my place to. So how did you feel about, as being a South African, making a film about Namibian people, and do you think maybe Namibian people, how do you think they feel about a South African making that film instead of a Namibian filmmaker?
So, well, first of all, I disagree that you can't make a film here. I think as storytellers, we should be able to tell any story we like to tell anywhere in the world. But that's another topic. At the same time, I acknowledge the importance of involving the local people because their understanding is different from yours. So the idea of just coming and parachuting yourself into the issue and then doing the story and then walking away, it's also not a great idea. So I've involved, well, first of all, it was very hard to get anyone willing to do the story with me in Namibia. They haven't told the story themselves. I think it's BBC and some other channel that has told this story, at least through my research. So it's a sensitive issue that no one really wants to touch. So I eventually had to go at it alone. Later on, a friend of mine who's Namibian came on board and provided archive and help whenever he can in facilitating. But still, I was trying to rope him in more, and he was reluctant. And to cut a long story short, eventually there's 2 Namibian filmmakers who are involved. One ended up shooting certain things for me when I couldn't go and shoot.
Yeah, I think it is a tough question, I think, telling other people's stories and stuff. Because, I mean, even with our work with Creative Nestlings, I'm forever a foreigner in South Africa. But I work 99% with South African young people, right? And I also get that question, so who are you to come in here and help us? You know, who are you to come here and collaborate with us? And I think that's why nowadays I even shy away from me being the person that does anything. I'm just the person that just connects the dots and shows the different rooms you can walk into, because it's a tough question. Because, I mean, imagine now someone comes in and makes a film about Mugabe out of nowhere, and then Zimbabweans who cause an uproar. They have already a couple of times, like the British and all this stuff, which is funny. But it's quite interesting and stuff. But yeah. But I think if there's any more questions, oh, okay, last question there.
Okay, this is pertaining to the narrative in all your stories. I noticed that you tell a Pan-African narrative. So I'm trying to encourage that because, I mean, I have parents from 2 different countries. And, well, they're from an older kingdom that was separated by colonial borders. So my story is also, for me to do a story from Swaziland when I'm not from there, was basically similar to you doing a Namibian story when you're not from Namibia, because I don't feel I belong to the colony mentality as such. And I would like to encourage anyone who's telling a story to realize that the continent is much smaller now, and whatever you project from this corner of the continent will affect everybody. Yesterday, I was at the violent demonstrations in Pretoria, and what I noticed when I was looking at the men, it was mostly men. It was young men at their prime, eager to provide, eager to produce, eager to deliver, and they were not getting that opportunity. And these are from all corners of the continent. And I suddenly realized that at one point I felt like that. I felt like where I was going to work from, where I preferred to work from, was not going to be sufficient for me to tell a story that was effective. And these guys were about to actually have a confrontation because of frustrations that don't come from neither of them, They come from somewhere else. And what struck me was the silence of the fathers, because these are like, guys, in middle-aged guys, youth, basically. There was no voice from the fathers, whether it's business, political, or spiritual. And I would encourage that. You're an example. I love what I've seen from you so far, and I would love for everybody else who's into film like I am to learn from that and tell stories that are not limited to colonial borders, because we were never restricted to those before the colonies came through. Thanks.
Just to close up on that, just to say something on that issue as well, is that when I approached the Herero Genocide Committee, one of the things they said, Uchiwa, who's the leading lady, said, "Oh God, thank you. Finally, there's somebody who wants to tell our story. We've been trying to get people to tell our story, and they have not been telling our story." So amongst us as artists, we might be, getting into these debates of whether, am I the right person to tell the story? Am I not? But people who need their stories to be out there, to me, are more important than some of the other debates. Some debates can be very academic, and I know it's a sensitive issue, that one, but we have to keep on moving, as long as there's decency in your approach, I think that's what's important, and your purpose.